So let's start with the diet and toxins, because a big part of that was your conventional doctor said diet has nothing to do with this. Mm-hmm. You knew better in your gut, so to say, your intuition, you knew that diet is a big part of it. Now, a lot of the times when we think of environmental factors, we think of being around chemical plants or, something very in your face, radiation, or, something that, has hazardous toxin signs all over it. But the truth is we ingest toxins every single day. What are some of the things people should be looking out for in their diet that is causing a toxic reaction within them?
Oh, I love that you said that. And I also love that you said the truth is we all know, and I've learned with patients, that intuition, that inner self, our inner story, we often know the answers. And if we just take the time to kind of tap into that, and like you said, our conventional system is the best place to be if you have a heart attack or a stroke or any sort of thing. So I love that we can do that. But what the toolbox is a little limited because drugs and surgery are primarily the answers. And what you're saying is we need to expand our toolbox because that's a great place to start. And I couldn't agree more. And then your question about toxins, and you're right. We think about, oh my gosh, well, I don't have lead in my paint and I don't have this or that. What I talk about all the time when I'm teaching doctors is something super simple. And it's clean air, clean water, clean food, because those basic inputs are the majority of our toxic load. And I love because it's something we can remember: clean air, clean water, clean food. It's not hard to remember, and it can be complicated to implement, but really it shouldn't be. So clean air, the air that we breathe, 80% of our toxic load comes from the air that we breathe. So nowadays with our VOCs from off-gassing, with our petroleum fuels and things in the air, with mold in so many environments, and increasing every day and every year, I think it's essential to have some sort of air filtration in your environments, especially if you're indoor. Outdoor dilution is the solution to pollution. So usually outdoor is not as big of a deal, but now with the fires and all of that, California, Colorado, and all over, as we get more and more dry and climate change, the outdoor air can be just as toxic. So I highly recommend a high quality HEPA filtration system with a VOC filter. And there's many companies that do that. But if you get just HEPA, that's the larger particulate, like mold spores or particulate pieces in the air. That VOC filter, however, is the 0.3 microns or less, like viruses or formaldehyde or smoke. And you really need both. I have 3 air filters in my small condo. I have 5 at work. And I really think it makes a huge difference. So think about air quality, invest in an air filter. Other ways you can do are putting a high quality MERV rating in your furnace. So just changing that out, you're going to have increased pressure on the airflow. So you may use a little more energy, but to me, it's worth it to have that thicker filter. And you can buy them even with charcoal infiltrated in there and that good filtration system. And of course, now people are using UV lights and all kinds of things. And since COVID, especially, caution with those, because some of these devices, whether it's UV or ozone, they may say they don't produce ozone, but if they react to molecular particles in the air, then they can create reactive oxygen. And people with sensitive lungs may react to a UV filter. So be careful with those. I'm not a huge fan because it can cause it doesn't produce the reactive oxygen, but when it reacts with stuff in the air, it can cause some irritants for the lungs. So that's clean air. And dilution is the solution to pollution. I said that again because it's fun to say and easy to remember, but that's where you can just open your windows and you can get some dilutional effects. Sometimes if you can't afford a filtration system, opening and diluting the indoor air is often really helpful. And nowadays with our LEED certified buildings and our incredibly efficient buildings, it's actually more of a problem because we're not getting, I'd rather be in a 100-year-old log cabin with a little bit of cracks in the wood than to be in a highly, downtown LEED certified where there's condensation, there's mold growth, and there's no air exchange from the outside. So that's clean air. Clean water, again, I grew up on well water. We thought it was clean, but looking back, I'm sure that there was probably contamination. So if you haven't tested or asked your city water supply for a report, you really need to look at this. I have a water filtration system that's on a countertop standalone and also one in my fridge. And the one in my fridge does like everything known to man. In fact, my friend in a suburb close to us had a water boil order on the community when there was an E. coli outbreak, and he used the filter because it filtered out E. coli and had no trouble at all. So clean water. The whole house systems are great, but they are usually reverse osmosis, which takes out the minerals as well. So if you do get that kind of filtration system, you need to think about minerals in your diet, because you're going to be drinking acidic water, which if you have osteoporosis or issues with bones, that's going to make that worse. And then the question you asked, finally, were to clean food. I am a huge fan of making sure you know where your food is grown. If you can get local, organic, non-GMO for sure, and as fresh as possible. Grow your own if you can, even if it's just herbs on your balcony like I do. And you really want to at least be non-GMO. And you can, if you can't afford all organic, and that be genetically modified. The reason for that is those, especially like corn and soy. The top 6, I think, are corn and soy and cotton and canola oil, wheat. There's maybe a couple I'm missing, peanuts, that are genetically modified. They're genetically modified so that they can tolerate things like glyphosate or Roundup applied to them without dying. And so what that means is there's more chemicals applied, and they're actually altered proteins in those genetically modified foods. Like the GMO corn is going to be slightly different to your body and maybe more antigenic. So it might stimulate the immune system a little bit more. So, and then organic, if at all possible. And if you can't afford all organic, you can look at the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen, and they put that out every year. And then at the very least, those are the highest pesticide sprayed foods. You want to eat those organic.
Yeah, it's wild how we've taken something like water, food, and air, something we all need, some you're just about to drink right there at the water, and made it into the toxins we're ingesting, the most toxic substances. Yeah. It's really so sad to see these 3 things become the most toxic